Zhang Yi crossed his arms. After listening to Yang Xinxin's analysis, a light suddenly flashed in his mind. He looked at Yang Xinxin unexpectedly and said, "If this is the case, doesn't it mean that they know how to deal with the zombie swarm?" At the beginning, their 5-member team had seen the horror of the zombie swarm. The zombie army commanded by the wise zombie king, plus the bronze-armored zombies with fighting power comparable to that of mutants, even they were unable to deal with it. Yang Xinxin tilted her head and smiled. Since it is an investigation team sent by the Jiangnan district, its strength is naturally extraordinary. The most important thing is intelligence. Intelligence! Yang Xinxin shook her white and tender fingers and said to Zhang Yi seriously, "First of all, they have more intelligence channels than us, and with the information provided by each of us, their understanding of the zombie swarm is far better than ours. So they will naturally be able to find a way to deal with the zombie swarm very quickly." Zhang Yi thought Yang Xinxin's words made a lot of sense. Speaking of which, the main reason why the previous mission failed was that we knew too little about the underground. From beginning to end, we have never seen the Zombie King at all. We can only speculate through fragmented information, which has created an unknown fear of it. On the other hand, Zhang Yi had to admit that the combat effectiveness of the 7-man team was much stronger than his team. Not to mention the combat effectiveness of Bian Junwu, just his subordinates. Each of them is at the top level in Tianhai City, even not inferior to the existence of the leaders of each base. Imagine that Zhang Yi, Xiao Honglian, and Wei Dinghai formed a team of mutants of this level, and their combat effectiveness was equally terrifying. Zhang Yi leaned against the sofa and said lightly, "In this case, let's go and take a look." Anyway, this large-scale concentration of combat power does not have much impact on us. The advantage of a small number of people lies in flexibility. It is more convenient to take the initiative to attack or retreat. In addition, without ordinary people holding them back, Zhang Yi and his men could remain calm on any battlefield. "Well, let's go over there and see what they have in mind," Zhang Yi said. Then he notified everyone to come to the living room for a meeting. After everyone gathered, Zhang Yi told them the news he had received. Uncle Yu has a very sensitive nose for war, and he immediately said, "Is this going to start? The war between the human coalition and the zombie army?" Zhang Yi leaned on the sofa. His expression was still relatively relaxed. "Since it is a coalition, there are many cannon fodders to bear. They don't have to be too nervous. And when fighting, there is an elite team like the 7-man team, which is more reliable. But I didn't expect them to be so fast. They have a plan after only 1 day. I can only say that a professional team is a professional team." After sighing, Zhang Yi looked at everyone with a serious look. "But I still say that the most important thing is to protect your own safety. Life is first and everything else should be put second. Do you understand?" Everyone nodded. They have heard this so many times that their ears are calloused. However, Zhang Yi will carefully remind them before taking any major action. Zhou Care frowned with some worry, and her eyes dropped slightly. "In other words, you all have to go to the snow worship sect and leave us at home, right?" Zhang Yi nodded without hesitation. Non-combat personnel should not go there. If a fight really breaks out, the number of zombies they will face is unimaginable. At that time, they will not be able to protect you at all. Thinking of the more than 10 million people who died in Tianhai City, Zhang Yi was still a little worried. He didn't know how many dead bodies had turned into zombies. The 5 major forces united, which meant that they would have to face all the zombies in Tianhai City. He had to be free of worries before he could throw himself into the battle. Zhou Keir argued, "But you also need a doctor. If you get hurt, I can help you heal." In every battle, Zhang Yi kept her in the shelter. She knew that Zhang Yi was protecting her, but there was not a single time when she was not worried, fearing that something might happen to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi raised his head and met Zhou Keir's serious eyes. She really wanted to help Zhang Yi. After all, in the extremely low-temperature environment outside, if someone was injured on the battlefield but did not receive timely treatment, it would be easy to die. Zhang Yi smiled disapprovingly. "You don't have the ability to protect yourself. Do you still need me to take care of you on the battlefield?" Don't be silly, girl. Field doctors are certainly important, but first of all, they cannot become a problem. Joe Keir said, if it were before, I know it would be inconvenient for you to take me with you. But since this is a big battle, we must have sufficient logistical support. I think not only us, but other forces will also have their own logistical personnel to follow. Uncle Yu also said to Zhang Yi, I think what Miss Zhou said is right. This time, almost all the combat power of the 5 strongest forces in Tianhai City has been gathered, so this battle will definitely not end so quickly. If it is a protracted war, logistics is very important, especially medical personnel. He looked at Zhang Yi with sincerity in his eyes. In the past, due to your caution, our team has never suffered casualties, but this situation may not continue. You should understand that it is very common to die on the battlefield. Doctors are also very important. The words of the 2 people shook Zhang Yi's heart. Although he is very powerful, he cannot guarantee that he will not be injured in such a large-scale melee. After thinking for a while, Zhang Yi nodded and agreed to take Joe Keir with him. Then you can come with us this time. I will find a way to arrange you in the back. You have to hide well and come to us for treatment once we get hurt. Joe Keir happily hugged Zhang Yi's neck, her eyes sparkling with joy. I understand. I will do my duty as a doctor. Seeing that Joe Keir had volunteered, Lu Karen stood up not to be outdone. She patted her unremarkable chest and said, Brother, take me with you too. My shooting skills have been getting better and better recently. Zhang Yi looked up at the short-haired girl and said lightly, Did you forget that guns are not very effective against zombies? Lu Karan's face froze. Zhang Yi didn't give others a chance to speak and said directly, Except for Care, no one is allowed to follow. Everyone stay in the shelter. Lu Karan sat down helplessly, while Yang Xin looked indifferent. At this time, there was not much they could do. Zhou Haimei and Yang Mi flashed a look of relief in the depths of their eyes. They did not have the courage, like Zhou Care, to follow Zhang Yi and others to the battlefield. After all, they had no combat ability, and it was easy to die. Zhang Yi and his men checked their weapons and equipment and planned to set off after all the equipment was ready. As for Zhou Care, before they set off, Zhang Yi specially gave her a small silver pistol. Guns are basically useless against zombies, and you can't use large-caliber ones. Keep this for self-defense. It's still very useful against people. Zhou Care has also practiced shooting. Although her shooting skills are not very accurate, it is enough for self-protection. She took the gun and stuffed it into the interlayer of her combat uniform. Everyone drove 2 snowmobiles, blocked the shelter, and set off for the headquarters of the Snow Worship Sect in Tianfeng District. The Snow Worship Sect knew that the investigation team and other forces were coming, so they hurriedly prepared. Bian Junwu and others came here as soon as possible. Zhang Yixian went to greet them with a group of priests under his command. It was said to be a greeting, but there was nothing special. Naturally, there was no time to prepare to welcome them. Bian Junwu and the others came as soon as they were told, not caring about any reception ceremony. However, after arriving here, they saw bloodstains everywhere, and the broken limbs had not been cleaned up. There were even people gnawing on the bloody meat of giant rats in the corner. Everyone saw all this, and they were used to the ups and downs, so they were not shocked. Zhang Yixian came to Bian Junwu and the others, nodded, and said, Welcome to Snow Worship Sect. I wonder if there is any arrangement for suddenly asking all the major forces to gather here. If we could have been informed in advance, we would have been prepared. Udi sneered and hugged his shoulders. You guys are in this situation. What can we prepare? We are here to help you settle things. You just need to listen to our instructions. Hearing Udi's words, the faces of the people behind Zhang Yixian showed anger. Udi raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? You look very unconvinced. Do you want to come out and practice? I can let you go together. Flat-headed brother Han Chang couldn't help it, baring his teeth, and said, Don't be too arrogant. Even if the people from Jiangnan district are very strong, we are not made of clay. Han Chang, shut up! Zhang Yixian stopped him. He apologized to Udi and said, Please don't blame me. The Snow Worship Sect has suffered heavy casualties recently, and the followers are inevitably a little extreme. Wu Di wanted to say something, but Bian Junwu tilted his head slightly, and he immediately shut up. Bian Junwu said to Zhang Yixian, "The plan will be discussed after the others arrive." Zhang Yixian smiled and said, "Well, do you want to go inside and rest for a while?" He then extended his hand to invite the members of the investigation team to rest in the church area. Bian Junwu stepped forward. The others followed closely behind him. Zhang Yixian hesitated for a moment and replied in a low voice. Bian Junwu raised his eyebrows slightly and asked, "How many people died exactly?" He was very concerned about the numbers. Only by knowing the specific death toll of the snow worship sect could he clearly understand the extent to which the snow worship sect was affected by the zombie tide. Zhang Yixian was stunned for a moment and said hesitantly, "I'm really sorry, we haven't counted the believers. The estimated death toll should be 3 or 4,000? 3 or 4,000? After hearing this number, Bian Junwu's tone was a little surprised. He looked around. The defense project was very simple, and compared with the major bases, it was not even simple. It was freezing cold, and although there were many people in the snow worship sect, they did not have so much energy to build solid fortifications. They could only rely on the existing environment to fight the zombies. The group, which once had tens of thousands of people, only died 3 or 4,000 people after a long battle with the zombies. It must be said that he was surprised. "So, how did you solve the food problem?" "To feed thousands of people at the end of the world, you need a huge amount of food. I'm curious how you did it." Bian Junwu's words made the snow worship sect members a little alert. The source of food is the core issue of any force. If Bian Junwu was not from the Jiangnan region, he would definitely be considered to be looking for trouble if he asked this question. Zhang Yixian hesitated for a moment, but still replied, "We will search for buried supermarkets and shopping malls in the surrounding areas to obtain food or other survival supplies." "Oh, is that all?" Bian Junwu looked at Zhang Yixian. His eyes were invisible under the toad mirror, but everyone could feel that he did not believe this. Subscribe for more episodes.